friends, this is Mrs. Wolfie from our half-acre homestead. Today I'm trying something really new for me. We're going to make a soil blocker. I'm going to try anyway. I have been checking these things out. I haven't even priced them. I just heard they were really expensive. But what a soil block is basically making yourself little blocks of soil to put your seedlings in. This is a 2-inch piece of 2-inch by 2-inch piece of PVC pipe. This is a 1.5-inch cap, and it slides right in there just nicely. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and make something that we're going to put soil in, but we're going to put it in here and we're going to press this down and pack it in and pop it out the other end, and we're going to have ourselves a block. Now all this equipment cost, I actually had to pay for the whole piece of PVC pipe, so it cost me like $4. But if you make several of these, or make them for your friends, or split on with somebody, this probably cost about 20 cents. This was $1, and I've got this bolt, and I just cut the price tag off, which was $1.49, and it came with one nut, and I bought the extra nut, 2 smaller washers, and 1 big washer, and I'm going to show you what I'm going to do. I pretty much want to go right through the center of this, and if you look at one of these little caps, these pipe caps, there's a little dot there. It's a little pip that the machine made when it was pressing them out. This is not getting hot enough to melt this. I may just have to poke a starter hole right through the center, and I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to take my scissors and I'm going to poke a starter hole. Watch your hand, folks. It may be best to do it this way. We don't really want it loose. We just want it enough that it'll go through this hole. There we go. Alrighty. Now, we want a nut. Now, this part of the nut is going to actually poke through the bottom to make a little dent for your seeds. Now, this is how we're going to measure it. This is very, very thin. So we're going to say that, and the nut, and that's just about as deep as we want to go for the seed. So we'll put this through like so. We want it nice and tight up against there. Okay, so here we go. This is we're going to pack the soil in here, and we're going to compress it down as far as we can, and that's going to leave a little dent. It'll leave a bigger dent. But you can we're just going to cover up the seed with vermiculite anyway. Now, onto the soil mix. Okay, folks, apparently you can't just use any soil for soil blocks because it won't work. It won't give you the consistency you need. It won't give it the aeration. Now, I've done some research. This is my combination, and I will show you the measurements. And what we're going to do is we're going to try some sample seeds. This is why we're doing it now, because in a couple of weeks I'm going to be starting my seeds, but we want to try a couple of sample seeds just to see how this works. So what we have is sphagnum peat moss, vermiculite, and compost. Okay, we're going to add more peat moss to that and more vermiculite. We've got some blood and bone meal and a little bit of plant food. And Bev's secret ingredient, toasted eggshells, of course. I'm going to grind up these eggshells, and I'm going to start opening these bags so we can start measuring stuff out, and we'll be right back. Alright, let's try our mix. Got me my big old bowl here. Basically, what we're going to do is we're going to do a combination. Now, because this potting mix already has peat moss and vermiculite and compost, the only thing really missing, you know what, I don't even know what all the right stuff is. So let's just wing this, and we'll test it. I mean, that's the way it should be done, I guess, eh? Now, the important part is you want the correct you're going to want to make this like a porridge consistency, okay? So here we have 6 cups of potting mix, and this is good potting mix. It's just compost, peat moss, and vermiculite. And you're going to want to make sure, if you have a soil sifter, you go right ahead and sift it, but I'm just going to run this through my hands to make sure that there's no sticks or anything like that in there. So there is 6 cups of potting mix. Now we're going to do 6 cups of plain peat moss. Because basically what we're going to do is we're making our own potting soil mix, but now this stuff will have sticks and stuff in it. And I've got too much there. Because you really don't want soil in your soil blocks, because they're not really soil. When you're starting seeds, most gardeners will tell you to start it with a soilless medium. Okay, let's just run our hands, phew, that's dusty, through this. This is probably old peat moss, but I mean, peat moss doesn't get old. It never changes. Okay, we don't want any sticks in here. Alrighty, so we have 6 cups peat moss, 6 cups good potting soil mix. Okay, now we're going to do vermiculite, because we want it to pack down, but we want it to be aerated. And that's going to make this nice and fluffy. Alright, now the magic happens. We're going to put in 1 cup of my eggshells. These eggshells have been toasted in the oven, okay? 1 cup of eggshell, let's say, it's about 3/4 of a cup of blood and bone meal. So we got lots of minerals in there, lots of vermiculite to fluff things up. All this stuff cost me, including parts, cost me about $38. Okay, we've got 6 cups of potting soil mix, 6 cups of vermiculite, 6 cups of peat moss, all busted up, nice and fluffy, 1 cup of crushed toasted eggshell, and 3/4 of a cup of blood and bone meal. Now we want to make this kind of like porridge. So we have 6 cups of water, and in that we're just going to add some generic liquid plant food. We're just going to give it a teaspoon maybe, and we're going to mix this all together. And yes, this is the same bowl I mixed my granola in, but it's stainless steel. It will wash up really easy. This is an old plastic spoon that I use for stuff like this. And we're just going to mix this up until it's a nice, see, it's already starting to clump nicely. It smells so earthy. Now you want it so that it's going to clump, but you don't want to leave any dry either. So we really want to mix this. I don't have any compost right now. That's why I added a little bit of plant food to the water. This looks pretty good. See, and it's moist. You shouldn't be able to squeeze water out of it though. Well, this might need just a little bit more potting soil mix. So let's give it another couple of cups, because the compost is the compost is what you really want your it's part of the organic material that helps hold this slurry together. I really hope this works out for everybody, but in the meantime, we're in the testing phases, right? Now this is spongy, but it should compact. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try our soil blocker, folks. Alright, I think I've got this figured out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try some of my bean seeds that I saved from last year, because I just want to make sure they're going to grow. And what I'm doing is I'm just packing my piece of PVC pipe. Put a piece of PVC down, squish, squish, and then just kind of jiggle it back and forth and gently pop it out. And there we go. Now I'm going to try some bean seeds that I saved from last year. I want to make sure that they're going to work, because I don't want to have to plant a whole row of the bean seeds I saved from last year and then find out they're not going to grow and I'll have to replant the whole row. So I'm going to do a trial starter for both beans and for our soil block. I will try something else just to make sure if it's not the beans, or if it is the beans and these don't grow, then I don't want to blame it on the soil block, right? So this is going to be our tester, and we'll label them. I done made me some soil blocks. Look, look, look. I'll be back with some bean seeds. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these out of here, because I don't necessarily like putting it in my cake pan. And also, I don't want it sitting on the bottom of the pan, because most trays usually have grooves in them. So what I've got here is I've just got the lid of a styrofoam 18-pack egg holder, egg carton, and I've put in your garden variety barbecue, bamboo, shish kebab skewers in the bottom. And I'm just going to set these on the skewers so that they are off the bottom. And I believe I have exactly 8, which will be just nice. There we go. Now, let the trials begin. I'm going to use, I picked several different seeds so that there's no mistaking whether things grow or not. And I have some little labels here that I am just going to label each one as I go. Now these are, I'm going to do 2 each of the beans because like I said, these are the ones I gathered myself. You saw me gather them in the fall. And here is a green bush bean and a green bush bean. And we are just going to label that with a little toothpick that says green bee. And that's our green beans. Let's put those back. And if these turn out and they work, which there's no reason why they shouldn't, here are my yellow wax beans, then what I'll do is I will label these packages that I've saved tested and proven, or tested and failed. If they test and fail, well, honey, we will just throw them away. Now, what have we got here? This is a beefsteak tomato from my friend Ed Videos 13. And I'm going to put a couple of these in just to, whoops. These are little envelopes I printed off the internet. And here's a couple of beefsteak tomato. Put a couple of them in there. And we'll label them. My husband's going to have a beef sandwich and go, where are all the toothpicks? There's our beefsteak tomato. Alrighty, you want to be gentle because remember, this isn't held together by mesh or anything. Now I'm going to do some bloody butcher corn, which my friend Ed Video sent me. And God love him, he so shared, you know, what he had. This is the blue jade corn. We'll staple that back closed. And I'm going to staple this back closed because these seeds are precious. He only had a bit and he shared. So bless his heart, you know, I don't want to lose a single seed. And you know what, folks? If I gotta say this, and I really am being reckless. What is this? Bloody butcher corn. You really should wear gloves. And you should wear a dust mask if you're working with any kind of chemicals. Now these aren't necessarily chemicals, but dust still flies. You saw that peat moss dust, and I was putting my health at risk by not keeping my face covered and mixing stuff with my hands. Now, what we're going to, having said that, please folks, take precautions. I don't always think of these things till after the fact. Now we're just going to cover up each seed, a little bit of vermiculite. And then that leftover mix that I have, I'm just going to put into a bag and I'm going to label it and save it. There we go. Some vermiculite. And we're just going to give these a really light watering. And I'm going to water them from the bottom because these are like sponges almost, eh? Alright, I'm going to give these a light watering and I will update you what's today? Today's the 19th of January. Let's give it a week and I'll give you an update on how all this went. Alright? This is the Mrs. Multi from our half-acre homestead saying it's an experiment, but if this works, why not? Right? Why not?